Hello, everybody. Welcome back to not another Isekai. Yeah, we're getting into the season now. We're like, what are we? 3 episodes at least for everything. So a few things that are a little bit later, only about a quarter, but some things we're already on episode 5 of. So we're getting through. What is it? It's the end of April, right? So yeah, that makes sense. We're getting into it though. Yeah, we'll start with Vinland Saga, season 2, episode 16. Yeah, this is a lot of the aftermath of last episode. Um, with the whole Gardar stuff, we find out that Gardar's still here, and Arnite hid him, which is funny because I was thinking, especially the way the last episode ended, I was thinking that maybe they were gonna like run off together or something. Didn't happen though. Also, they didn't really. Well, I guess Kettle's still not here. We're still waiting on that to kind of rebound, right? Because we still have Kettle and the two sons and the other dude. It's like his Festus or something. What was his name? it was something. Yeah, we still have that guy. They're still on the boat. I don't know how long it's gonna take to get here. But also, how long has it been on the farm though? Like the whole timeline of everything is a little unknown. But yeah, because I was gonna say is that I'm surprised they haven't like punished Arnhide because she is a slave who very much did not do what they were supposed to do and caused was implicit in many deaths. But I guess Kettle's not there, and also I figured they figured they probably need her to kind of draw out Gardar, which makes sense. It makes sense. Um, and then Einar and Thorfinn are all the way down to help Arnhide, which is nice. I don't know what they're gonna do though. I mean, it's funny because Einar and Thorfinn are so ready to be free. They've been earning this for the past like 3 years, I think, right? And now I feel like this can put everything in jeopardy. Because I mean, Kettle. That's Kettle's deal. His like arrangement with them. He could rescind that at any point. You know what I mean? Like he is still their owner, right? So he could, if he really wanted to. So it's just funny to me that they are willing to risk everything like that. Again, Kettle's not here. I feel like Kettle coming here is gonna be the catalyst for many things to happen. Um, and we see that Spherical is kind of a double agent almost. I mean, listen, man, he's the old man. He's the original owner of the farm. He can kind of he's untouchable for the most part. He's also dying, so I imagine those two things, the little Venn diagram of those two things, right in the middle is where he's like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And so he does have this little this little monologue with Snake, and he almost tries to convince Snake to be a farmer, to just like settle down and be like, hey, you could have a piece of this farm, you could be set, like it could be an easy life, you don't have to do it what you're doing. And Snake, I don't know, maybe for a second seems like he might want to agree to that, but nah, he ends it. He's like, I'm not gonna be some farmer. I'm not gonna sit around, and no, I'm not doing that. There are a lot of questions though of like where he came from, because Spherical was pointing out the sword, and how like that, that sword wasn't made around here or something. So there's other mysteries of his upbringing, which I think matches him very well with Thorfinn, because Thorfinn's kind of the same way, where it's like, where did Thorfinn come from? Um, they use Einar as a distraction, but Snake doesn't fully take the bait. He comes back, and this is where we're really setting up for next episode. And I feel like next episode is gonna be huge, because like, I mean, come on, like Spherical, not Spherical, Snake and Thorfinn going at it right now. They're like immediate encounter where Thorfinn did this nice little flip thing, and it was like, ooh, they're just kind of checking each other, like, what's your skill level? What's your skill level? kind of, that nice little clash real quick there for a couple seconds. You see like Thorfinn, like what is it? Like in Sherlock Holmes, you ever watch the Sherlock Holmes movies where Sherlock will like predict what the enemy or what was I don't know, enemy, I guess, is going to do, and he sees in the future. He like predicts all the moves. Like, okay, he's gonna do that, so I'm gonna do this. That's almost what Thorfinn is doing here, which is funny, because again, we're kind of digging deep and reaching into what Thorfinn used to be. We used to be this just like killing machine, right? And Ghost Askeladd is there again. We haven't seen him in a few episodes or so, and he's have his arm wrapped around his shoulder, and he's kind of playing both angel and devil, because there's initially, especially going back to the few episodes ago where Thorfinn was like dying or whatever, and he was having the crazy dream, right? Almost too much to be a dream, more so of like a vision, and it basically ended with Ghost Askeladd being like, hey, don't ignore everything you did, but you can be better than us. Like, this is your fight now. You're still a warrior, but you're not the warrior in the sense that you're on the battlefield killing a bunch of people, a bunch of innocent people especially. Like, your fight now is to carry all that weight with you and do better, like make change in the way that you want to make it rather than just being used as a sword, and so that's kind of what Ghost Askeladd is here. Again, he's saying it in much less words, but then he's like, well, nothing you can do, right? You gotta kill him, be killed, right? You can't do it. And so I like that he's not like set on one thing. I mean, because again, realistically, probably not a ghost. Probably not really him speaking from like the afterlife. It's most likely just like Thorfinn's conscience, being embodied by Askeladd, someone who he spent most of his life with, and was also the driving force in just him living, right? Like, pretty much the only reason that Thorfinn wanted to live was to properly duel Askeladd and hopefully kill him. And then, yeah, that is kind of where the episode ends with them kind of squaring off, and he takes this like weird stance, even Snake in his mind, he kind of notices and points out how strange Thorfinn's stance is. Like, oh, it's not really, doesn't really make sense for like holding a sword or holding a spear. So he's intrigued, and I'm just saying, man, next episode is gonna be great. I can't wait to see this fight, because we don't really know. So it's interesting because on Thorfinn's side, he's much more of a known quantity to us, right? Like, the entire first season was surrounded about Thorfinn. So we also know what he's done. Like, we've literally seen him in action, just decimating. But what we don't know is what he still has. He hasn't done anything like that in quite a long time. He hasn't had the motivation to, right? More so, he's had the motivation to do the opposite. And also, just hasn't really fought in a long time, I'm sure a lot of the muscle memory is there, but he still hasn't done it, right? It wasn't like when he was doing it literally every day. A little rusty, right? A little rusty. But then on Snake's side, he's like, we don't know. We've seen him a little bit in action, just a little bit here and there, but not really. So we don't really know what he's capable of. We don't know where he stacks up against Thorfinn. Like, should we be scared right now for Thorfinn? Or is this more like, Thorfinn's got it, right? Snake's nice, he's better than all the other, bumbling idiots that he has in his crew, but he's not, he's not Thorfinn, right? So we'll see, it's interesting, especially with what the outcome could be, I imagine even if Thorfinn loses, he's not going to die, right? Like, we're not losing Thorfinn in this series. I also don't think I don't think either of them are going to die. Even though Snake was like, I'll kill you. Thorfinn, just from a writing perspective, I'm like, you can't kill Thorfinn. It doesn't make any sense. But then even from Snake's side, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think, more so in character, I don't think Thorfinn is going to kill, right? I think that would break him. That would truly send him down either the path of becoming a recluse and just like, I'm not allowing myself to do anything anymore. I'm gonna just go hide in the woods or something. Or it would do the opposite and send him back on the path of destruction, which could be fun to watch. But yeah, I don't think, I think it'll probably end with either a distraction, like someone comes barreling in or something, like Kettle or something, or maybe Canute and his people are here, and they're like, oh no, what's going on? And that kind of interrupts their their little fight to the death. Or I think that Thorfinn will win, and he won't kill Snake, and they'll kind of have like this like unspoken agreement as to what just happened, right? But we'll see. Again, it's gearing up for some a crazy episode 17, I think. Next, we got Hell's Paradise, episode 5. Wow, I spelled that name completely wrong. Yeah, a lot of like realizing about each other in this episode. A lot of understanding, I feel like. We got Gabimaru found many plants resembling the others that were killed. So yeah, he's looking around. He's like, because the whole setup for this is that no soldiers or whatever, adventurers, explorers, were able to get back with the elixir, because they would always, most of them would come back, and then when people would come back, they would like turn into plants, which is just crazy. He's saying like, oh, I was running across some plants, and I'm seeing a lot of plants that are resembling people, right? So not necessarily I'm just seeing bodies everywhere like we've seen them before. It's more so like they've overgrown, and now like the island is like consuming and then reusing these bodies, which is sick. And then even more so about the island, he's finding, or he's kind of realizing, and everyone else is as well, that there's these animals that they've been encountering, right? Just like the regular ones, but also the regular ones, which then turn into weird, like half and half, like half animal, half human, like spirits. And their conclusion from that is that that's almost proof that the elixir of life exists, because these animals are able to exist off of, or not really exist, but they're able to just live forever, it seems, right? Like they are immortal. So it's like, oh, that could be not like hard evidence, but in their mind they're like connecting these dots. That's like, okay, well, that could be proof that the elixir of life is here on this island, because how else are these animals able to do what they do? So that's cool, right? I feel like that moment is definitely more for the characters in the show rather than us viewers, because we're like, well, the elixir has to exist, right? Because then, like, what is the show? Turns out, oh, elixir isn't here. Okay, so we just did all this for nothing. The whole story was meaningless. Then we bounce back to Sagiri, and she's staying strong, trying to prove herself. It's a very weird character that we've chosen to focus on, because she is one of the samurai or whatever, and but she's like not really built for it. Like she's more so, she feels obligated to do this because of her family, because of her clan, but she's not like really, like we've seen her kill, right? Like episode 1, episode 2, we saw her just destroy those 3 dudes, those 3 criminals, but for the most part she's not really like all the way there, especially for a mission like this. Even that one dude was like, are you strong enough to kill Gabimaru, or whatever his nickname, I forget what his nickname is, like the White Lotus or something. Are you strong enough? And honestly, she's not. Like we've seen them face off, and it's like, ooh, she was struggling, and I don't necessarily think that has anything to do, like, I don't personally take that as indicative of her skills. I think it's more so just Gabimaru was crazy. Like, I don't think Gabimaru is losing against anyone on this island. But you also have to look at it from the other perspective, because no one else had to face Gabimaru before, so it's like, well, you can't do this, It's like, I personally don't think anyone else there could do it either, but there's hard evidence that specifically Sagiri cannot. But then we do see we do have a moment where Gabimaru says that Sagiri is stronger than him. Again, I don't think that's true. I think he was more so, I mean, even when he was explaining it, he was like, I don't really know what it is. I don't know if it's like technique or skill or emotion or something. Like, he was just listing off a bunch of random things. So physically and like with the blade, I really don't think Sagiri is stronger than him. I think that's crazy. But maybe in other ways she is, right? Again, even with that, not 100% sure, because she's like super, I don't know, like she's even pretty unsure of herself. So I don't know. I'm sure to come back around. Though. I feel like they are kind of kindling something between them. I don't know. It's gonna be like a. I mean, it's definitely not gonna be like a romantic thing because he's all about his wife and all that. But there is something there. There is something like friendship or just some sort of like understanding between these two characters. I mean, we've definitely seen stuff like that before in media, right? Where the captor and the captee they're like, oh, we're supposed to hate each other because you're a criminal and I'm the law or whatever, and vice versa. But at the end of the day, they may not become friends, but we have seen stories before where they do like help each other out as like a mutually beneficial relationship that they have, right? So we'll see. Then what else? And then at the very end, that the giant, the giant criminal, just clapped the other samurai guy, and honestly, very happy because that guy, I don't remember his name. That guy was terrible. He was the one where every chance that he got, he would just put down Sagiri, and it's like, what are you doing? Like there's part of it that's like there's an angle you could look at that as like he was trying to be helpful, of his fellow samurai. Of like, hey, maybe your skill level ain't all the way there. Maybe you should go home and we can kind of handle this, right? And if that's true, okay, but still, like, you're still talking to her as if she's like a child, and it's like, hey, I wear the same uniform as you do. That's not fair. So I'm glad he got destroyed. Kind of scared for Sagiri though, because I don't know if the giant's just like on a rampage, and he's like, well, I'm gonna kill everyone now because that's beneficial to me, or if he was truly just fed up with that man, and like we're gonna cut back to episode 6, and he's gonna nod to Sagiri, and Sagiri's gonna nod to him, and there's gonna be a little non-verbal little communication there, and they just go their separate ways. Maybe that's what'll happen. But yeah, I think it's a very important episode, especially with some of the research that was done at the beginning, the plants, the elixir, all that stuff, and then even Sagiri and Gabimaru's relationship. I think, and even Gabimaru talking about that, like one clan or whatever, they're like group of, I don't know what they are exactly, if they're like assassins or something, or if they're like the real police that are coming in to like stop everything. I don't really know. They're brought up again, so I'm sure at some point this season we'll see them. Because why would they keep talking about them, right? But yeah, I think it is definitely gearing up for some big stuff to happen next, especially the next episode is about halfway through. So next, we got Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world, episode 4. Yeah, what happened this episode? Yeah. So I like that a lot of this series is Megumin and Yunyun's relationship. I think that's really fun that they're able to play with that, because in the main show, they have this kind of like, I don't know, this like almost like sibling rivalry, right? They're not siblings, but like they have this like sibling rivalry where it's like, we're trying to be better than each other, but we still like each other, right? So like I mean, this episode especially really plays around with that. And it's the Megumin character. I feel like is so fun to watch because we have like in the very beginning of the episode, we have her like fantasizing about becoming the Demon King, right? And like just like wreaking havoc and everyone bows before me, right? That kind of cliche. But then this episode ends up with her kind of going soft for Union and like helping her out, right? In a way that Union just wasn't really ready to do herself. I like Megumin's kind of her reasoning to those girls, where it was like she's desperate for friends, and so you are taking advantage of her, even if you would legitimately want to be her friend. You kind of like knowing that and being like, hey, why don't you, why don't we kind of raise some money? It's like, that's just not cool, you know? So, but yeah, with the whole like, oh, my friend's little brother needs medicine. Okay. And so trying to raise money. And so, Megumin's over here like, well, I don't have any money. It's so funny how she's broke. It's such a funny, like, character trait. Like, oh yeah, that is one of her 3 character traits, is that Megumin never has money and her family's broke. And like it actually plays into the story in like different funny situations as well. And so, Megumin's like, all right, well, I'm going to make the potion. And so she does, and is able to get Union's money back. And like she got really serious at the end of the interaction. They're kind of messing around, but there was a point in the interaction where it looked like Megumin was ready to throw hands. Like she was upset, like her eyes started glowing, and because she was very serious about it. She was like, hey, like this isn't cool, like you're taking advantage of her, like, and it's like, oh, you wanted to help. It's like, yeah, but you know what you're doing. Like there's a difference between mugging somebody and knowing that they will help you because of their own insecurities, and so you take advantage of them. Like we're not saying you did the former, but you definitely did the latter. And yeah, so she was upset. Like even the girls were like, hey, okay, calm down, like you're actually kind of scary when you get mad, because Megumi, I mean, that's another funny thing about this show, I feel, is that like even though this is focused on Megumi's like upbringing and schooling and all that stuff, we don't really see a lot of actual learning. I feel like we're already at the point where they're earning like skill points or whatever. And it's funny because Megumin is like definitively number 1 in the class. Like we haven't seen them really do anything, like at this stage. We haven't seen them perform any magic yet. I don't know. It's just a very interesting way to like tell this story, And then and then they kind of have Megumin and Union are together at the end. They argue over kind of advanced magic and explosion magic. We see again more of the little trail of going to the main show, with them being like, you can only, most people don't even have enough like magic in them or whatever to use it, and then even if you do, you can only use it once a day. That's why it's joke magic. It's funny because that's true for Megumin as well. In the main show, I don't remember if she ever gets it to be more than just once a day. I wonder if they'll ever expound, like if they'll like upgrade it where it's like, oh, she can use it twice a day now, and it's like the biggest moment of her life. You know what I mean? Because I think it would still be funny that she could only use it twice a day. But yeah, and then they fight or whatever, and Union wins. That's funny. But after all that, it does end with something crazy happening in Megumin's house. We'll say Megumin's house has been broken into, so maybe next episode we'll finally see some sort of magic being used. Because we do know that there was, is this really spoiling something? Because this is a prequel. So I feel like if you're watching the prequel, you should probably already know everything that happens in the main show, but just, I guess, warning, slight spoilers for the future, even though we've already seen the future. But whatever. I guess you've been warned. Because we do know there was a moment, and I hope we see this moment. I imagine we will, but we know from the main show, Megumin, I think I don't remember who she was talking to explaining this, but um, she did explain like why union means so much to her, or at least one of the reasons why union means so much to her. And there was a moment where uh, Megumin was trying to save her little sister from, I don't know, some like monsters or something, and she didn't have any magic, I think, or something, because she was storing up all of her points, right? All of her skill points, so that she could spend them on learning exposure magic, right? So that's why she didn't spend any of them, because she was like, well, I'm not at a level yet where I can have access to the exposure magic stuff, so I'm not going to spend any points on other stuff. I want to put all my stuff, all of my energy into this. And so she, it was funny because she like had the card, you know, she's like in the bushes or something. She had the card and she was like sweating of like, you know, it's like inner turmoil, like trying to decide what she can do, because she's literally like her whole life is based around her learning exposure magic. Like that is her life's goal, her own drive, right? And so she was like, do I just give up on that and learn some other types of magic to save my little sister? And it sounds crazy, but like it really does make sense when you look at her character, right? And Union was there as well. And Union, I mean, I don't think Megumi knew that Union was there. I think Union also just kind of like strolled up, and Union ended up spending her points on some other, like, you know, some other basic stuff, right? Because she saw that Megumi was struggling. She also knew how much Megumi wanted to do exposure magic. Like, she was very aware of Megumin's goals and all that stuff, right? And so she spent her own points to learn some other basic magic to save her little sister. And that was a big sacrifice for her, because she, you know, we mentioned it, we hear at this episode where she wants to learn advanced magic. And so she kind of, in that moment, she kind of had a huge setback because of that, because she had to spend her points on other stuff. And so now I think in the main show, that's why she's seen as so weak, because she kind of was forced to go the, you know, the like all around route, where instead of focusing on like one or two things, she kind of just spent points in a lot of different areas. So like nothing is super strong. You know, but that was kind of kicked off by that moment, you know, of like saving Megumin's sister. You know, like she did that because she knew, you know, I don't know, it was her friend, and she was very selfless in that moment. But then on Megumin's side, you know, that's why, you know, they kind of mess with each other. But she might actually look at Union as like a like sister type relationship, right? So anyway, I would hope that we see that moment in here somewhere, because that's also kind of connected to possibly what next episode's going to be, because it's like, well, they don't really know magic, right? So if there are intruders, like maybe next episode is the moment that I just described. You know, maybe that's when this happens. I don't know. We'll see. Next we got Dr. Stone, New World, episode 4. We are advancing very quickly. we're going crazy. We got like GPS, we got radar, we got sonar. Now, you know, because now all that stuff is sort of like spearheaded towards the goal of finding this other person. Senku is convinced that this person has something to do with the petrification. I think a lot of other people do. For me personally, I'm watching this and I'm like, I don't know that I'm ready to plant my flag yet, right? Like, I don't know that person necessarily has, like, I totally get their reasoning, where it's like, well, one, there's other people, you know, you would imagine the probability is pretty low of other people getting revived, like also getting like dripped on or whatever from the like revival juice, you know, the same way Senku was. So imagine it's pretty unlikely that they were in the same situation that Senku and them were. You know, but it's possible. I mean, it's also possible that they were also some sort of descendants of the people who didn't petrify, the same way that like Chrome and them were, right? Possible. But they're going all the route. They're putting all their eggs in this basket of like, no, these are the people behind it, which is I don't think I guarantee. Um, I mean, again, I totally get their logic with also the message, right? Where it's like, why wouldn't your message be like, hello, or who are you, or something like that? Like, why is your, why are you spamming why? Like that's such a weird thing. It's weird, I'll definitely give it that. But it's like, I don't know. I'm not convinced that this is the answers they've been looking for. It'd be nice if it was. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy. Um, I also feel like that's kind of like the end goal though for the story. So I don't know how much more of this story there is to tell, because I feel like finding out the whole petrification stuff, I feel like that's like the end. That's like, okay, we got it, got the people, because like then what else is the show? It's like, oh well, we know the big mystery behind what caused the show to exist in the first place. But yeah, they many other good things happen because of the whole like radar and sonar stuff. Like they're able to see um, through the oceans, so they catch a lot more fish, which I feel like at this point they'd be sick of fish. That was the whole point they got bread. But anyway, you can make it a different way now, so I'm sure it's different than just like putting fish over a campfire, right? Yeah, Chrome, a big big advancement here. Chrome found an iron deposit. They got a mine, so they're about to get crazy with the metal and the steel. It's kind of their goals there. They're paving roads, which I guess in hindsight, the way Senko explains it isn't really that advanced. It's like, yeah, well, it's mostly just like gravel. But they got that. They decide that transporting by sea is more efficient by land, so they're really going the whole ship route, which is nice. And then they really need it because they're transporting all the iron. So it's like this is ridiculous. And they have mine carts now too in the little mine they got. So I like the way that they'll like focus on one big advancement, and like everything else in the episode kind of like branches off of it. We're talking about radar and sonar. Okay, what does that give us? That gives us a lot of fish, gives us the iron, gives us like crazy advancements with a mine in general. Helps us think of other ways to use the oil, like paving roads for the cars. So it's cool. It's just cool, So we're getting closer and closer. The whole like radar sonar stuff is crazy, because it really helps them find stuff that they would never found before. Makes things a lot easier. And also, we're getting closer to other people. Trying to find these other people. So yeah. Also, having iron, I feel like is crazy. Like that, I feel like is gonna open up a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. That's it for that. Tonikawa, Over the Moon for You, Season 2, Episode 4. Yeah. This one was a couple things. Some stuff to do with Aya, some stuff to do with Kaname. So with Aya, we got Nasa is helping Aya with her schoolwork. Yeah, that was just nice. I mean, I like that they're able to have some sort of working relationship, especially with the whole, I feel like last season, right? Where we knew that Aya had a huge crush on Nasa, and then we found out that he was married. She was pretty torn up about it, but I'm glad they kind of moved past that, and like not have that just be Aya's character, because that'd be very annoying, when especially whenever a character is boiled down to just being jealous, like that is their character. It's like, this is a waste, so I'm glad they didn't do that with her character, where it's like, oh no, she can still be here and have fun moments and fun interaction with their characters. So yeah, and then pretty much we just have the whole Kaname stuff, where Kaname's a creep. Like, she's a creep, yo. Like, it works for her because it's endearing because of her personality and also her age. I feel like, where like with other characters and other shows that are creeps, it's like, I hate this character. I hate them with all my heart. I wish they would go away. But with this, it's like kind of endearing, They're able to ride that line very well. because she basically gives Nasa a list of all the different placements of a kiss and like what they mean, which is crazy. Like what kind of, how do you spend your free time? This is what you do. You just create these lists. Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. And so like Nasa's like super like self-conscious about it the whole time, um, which I think is really funny. This is one of the things I wanted to point out, which is like it's funny that they are married, but and they want to do different married stuff, but they always get so flustered over it, because again they haven't known each other for very long, just not they haven't been married very long, they haven't known each other for very long. So it's just funny where it's like, oh, we want to do all this stuff, but it's like, ooh, should we? So, and then Kaname, on top of the Kaname stuff, then she gave Tsukasa the list as well, and it's like, okay, God, what is your end goal? What are you trying to do here? Why do you always have your ear up to the door? Get out of here. But yeah, so again, just a fun time. Nasa and Nasa and Tsukasa just doing stuff, having a good time, right? Yeah, I think I mentioned this before, where I'm like, I would like. I mean, I totally get that this is definitely more so of like a slice of life type thing, but there is part of me that's like, man, I wish there was just a little bit more like plot to the show. Just a little bit, just like, I want to like get to something, right? I mean, first season was good enough for what it was supposed to be. I mean, especially when like, because I feel like first season was more focusing on everything was new, right? So it's like, oh, we're doing this thing, that thing, meeting the parents or whatever, right? Like it was all like, oh, we're newlywed, so we're going through all the different newlywed stuff, learning about each other, all that. But season 2, I feel like, okay, we've kind of gotten over that initial hump. Now we're just kind of riding that, which is fine, but I don't know that it's gonna make for a season that I can say is definitively better than season 1. And I don't know that it's gonna be like, oh, well, they're getting a season 3. Season 3 just gonna be the same thing as season 2. Like, we're 4 episodes in. I feel like injecting something, and I don't necessarily mean like some crazy conflict. We don't necessarily need that, especially with, again, slice of life shows generally don't have conflict. It's just like, here's some fun stuff, right? But I would like just something, just something a little bit extra. Still very much enjoy the show. I very much enjoy it for what it is, but I don't know that. Like first season, I was ready for a season 2. The way the season is going, I'm like, this is good, but I don't know. I'm like, I don't know that I'm like, gotta get a season 3. But that's just me. Next, we got My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, episode 4. This one is great. This one, we have we actually go through the whole meeting with the guild. So we got, they tried to lie. They tried to lie this episode because I remember last episode, right, where I was like, well, so clearly the tall blonde kid is Rory, right? Like clearly that's who it is. Like with his like mannerisms and his knowledge, right? I was like, well, that's clearly that's him, and that's gonna be the joke, right? Like, oh, it's actually the guy is the not the the girl, which is like But then, at the very beginning of the episode, they kind of throw a switcheroo on us, where it's like, where quote unquote Rory is like kind of just like stonewalling. Just severely stonewalling Akane. That's her name. I didn't write it down this one. So it's just fully stonewalling. I'm like, are they because like she's like she hasn't said it's not her yet. She's mostly just saying like, why are you here? Who are you? This is our guild meeting. Why are you invading? And I'm like, is it not? And then Akane in her head is like, wow, she's like really different in game than she's in real life. And I'm like, is it her? And then she's just like completely different. Like, that's so weird. Like, so for a second I was like, they're not doing, like, the switcheroo is the fact that they're not doing the switcheroo. That's crazy. And then it's like, no, that's not me. And then you find out that the tall kid's name is Eita, and he is Ruri, and that spawns a whole other thing, which I feel like Akane makes such more of a big deal out of it than it needs to be. It's like, I feel like it's fine for him to play as Ruri. Like, I don't see a problem with that. Now, if he was doing it, now obviously when people do that, and try to what's the words I'm looking for? When they intentionally play someone else for like malicious purposes, that's different, right? That's not cool. But it's a video game. You can make a character look like whatever you want. Who cares? And obviously, Eita's not doing the former. He's doing the latter. He's just like, this is cool. I like this. You know, this is just what the character want to play. It is weird though. You know, we do see that the little girl's name is Runa, and she is Eita's little sister. It makes a lot of sense. But it is weird though, because we find out that Ruri, which is the character that Eita plays, is modeled after Runa, and it's like, see, I want to be on your side, Eita, but doing stuff like that, kind of weird. It's not normal. It's not a normal thing a normal person would do. It's not something that I think is like irredeemable, where it's like, we talked about what last show that I just covered was what's the name of the show? I covered Tonikawa. It's like the one character, Kaname, very creepy, right? But it's able to work because they make it endearing. So with this character, it's like, I'm not like, it's not like, get this character out of here. Other shows and other characters that are played a different way might be like, okay, that guy, if that's your fan favorite, you're wrong. But this is like, okay, it's a little weird, but he's just super enthusiastic about the game. He's not, he's not trying to like lie to anyone or put on a mask to deceive anyone. It's just a little weird. That's it. That is fine. We got the old man too. Name is Takezo. We haven't seen him at all in the game. I'm sure we'll see him at some point. That'll be fun. Same thing with Runa. Because at first I was a little confused about this too, where I was like, I just thought that she was just the little sister of Eita and she's just kind of tagging along. But no, she does actually play, and we just haven't seen her character either. So that'd be cool when we finally do. Runa called her out, which I thought was crazy. Because a lot of times there's those anime moments where it's like, oh, only the main character heard what the main character said, right? Like it's even though they say it out loud, you just kind of forget it, because it's storytelling, right? But with this, Runa definitely heard. And Runa was like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean by this? It's like, oh no, it's gonna happen, And then off of that, she drops her glass, causes another big scene. Oh, she just dropped something. I also dropped something just now. Oh, I don't know if you could hear that, but so yeah, like a big scene there, and so that's a lot of tension, a lot of uncomfortableness happening at the table. But they're able to get past it. They're able to get past it. I like the conversation that Yamada and Eita have, where Eita's like, your indifference towards girls is abnormal. And then we do have a quick little flashback to possibly some moment in the past happening with him and some girl that maybe kind of caused him to have this like outlook and this this like attitude towards females, right? And that's nice. I mean, obviously not that a moment like that would happen. We don't wish that on anyone, but in terms of just like character building, right? Where it's like, oh, okay, we kind of had that moment. Maybe at some point we'll actually hear about something that happened. That, if there was something that spawned his current attitude, right? And that might build towards him being with Akane. So it's nice. And then Runa very much wants to kick her out of the guild. She's like, I will make it my mission. It's like, well, hold on now. hold on now, you don't gotta be so mean. And again, it's mostly just, Eita kind of explains it where he's like, oh, she's very territorial. She's also at that age, she's at that like puberty age or whatever. So like, okay, I don't really blame Runa. I get it. I mean, we've had other shows. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a bunch of other, even just anime, where like the like younger sibling is super protective of the older sibling, because they're afraid that if the older sibling has friends, then they'll never hang out with them again. They'll just hang out with the friends again. So we've seen that plenty of times before. And then we have a couple really nice moments at the end. It's kind of all one scene, but it's kind of broken up into two things that happen. One is Akane gives Yamada a bunch of her food that that she kind of like her like meal prep basically, which is very nice because Yamada's like, well, I don't really cook. I just buy convenience store stuff. He's eating pudding for dinner. It's like, okay, you need to eat real food. So she like runs home and runs back and brings her like 2 bags of just like just like Tupperware of meal prep, like curry and stuff like that. And it's just like, it was a very touching moment where it's like, no, she's trying to be nice to you, and she clearly cares about you. It's like, hey, you can't just be eating dessert for dinner. Like, you're not like, and it's also not like, where a different character would be like, no, I want to eat dessert for dinner because I love sweets. Like, no, he just eats that because he doesn't cook, so he just doesn't really know what to eat. So he just eats random garbage for dinner, and it's like, nah, you gotta. It's not healthy for your body, So that was very nice, right? Where he's like, that's great, The other moment was Runa calling Akane and apologizing and wanting to hang out with her. That's a moment where I think is a little bit suspicious, where there's a part of me where it's like, I wonder how genuine she is right now. If she really is like, Eita got to me, and she, Eita makes a lot of good points. Maybe I should apologize to her, and we should hang out, and we're part of the same guild and everything. So if she's gonna be around, we should get to know each other, which would be nice. But I'm also afraid it's the other side of the coin where she's messing with her, and she wants to invite her to just like, I don't know, just like rag on her or something, or like scare her away from everyone, which would be unfortunate. And that is also kind of connect to a moment that we see at the very end where Yamada looks in his calendar and he sees that on Saturday he has a tutoring session. So I don't know, was it that he's tutoring Runa? Was that what he's doing? Or is he being tutored? I don't know. Something like that. There's something suspicious about that date in particular, and the whole thing that Bruna's setting up. There's something that I imagine maybe next episode is going to be that. I would guess. But yeah, very very good episode. This is definitely one of my favorite episodes. I like it a lot. Where it's like we're seeing a bunch of the people in real life. So we're gonna see them interact more in the game, I hope. Yamada and Runa, their little feelings towards each other, are definitely on a scale. I wouldn't say they're both like in love with each other or anything like that, but there's definitely some sparks happening, some things happening in Akane's mind, some things happening in Yamada's mind, where it's like we're building, And I'm here for it. I'm always here for it. So very excited for next episode. Next we got Skip and Loafer, episode 4. This is a great show. This is definitely one of my favorites of the season. I'm having a lot of fun with this. So we do see a big part of this show, of this episode, pretty much most of the episode, I think, right, is the whole Shima and acting, right? So I like this because, one, I mentioned it last episode when it was, introduced. I was like, oh, I love that we're learning more about Shima, because obviously Iwakura is the main character, so we learn a lot about her, but Shima is, I feel like, the second main character, so I want to know more about him, because all we know right now is he's kind of lazy, kind of just like go with the flow, doesn't really have any goals in life, just kind of living, which is fine, I feel like, but at some point you gotta have a goal. Even if your goals change in life, you gotta have something. You got something you want to be working towards. So, um, so I like learning more about his backstory and everything, and maybe a little bit indicative of what of like why he is, So, um, we see that a very important point is that he didn't really love acting necessarily. He just did it for his mom. He acted for his mom, and so that right there is like, oh, this is there's like three more layers that we could peel back there. I'm sure, where it's like, oh, okay, so what does that mean, right? Because we know the dad was an actor. So it's funny that he acted for the mom, not the dad. What's the situation there, right? Acted for the mom. Was his mom one of those moms that like lives vicariously through their children to a unhealthy obsessive amount? Or was it just something that his mom liked and he, as a kid, he was like, oh well, I want to make my mom happy, so I know that she likes actors or whatever. I don't know. So I'm gonna be an actor, because acting is in our family, so I'm gonna do that. It's gonna make her happy. We'll see there. Um, what's the relationship like now with the parents, right? Because I mean, him using a different name, where it's like, apparently that's not really his name. Like Shima is not his name. So I wonder if like he legally changed it, or if maybe he doesn't have a relationship with his parents anymore. Because even when Iwakura was talking, because Iwakura's talking about Fumi, and we'll talk about that in a second, but, she was talking about Fumi and like her parents and stuff. Um, you know, Shima kind of had this like longing expression and this like answer of like, oh, you're very lucky. Or it's like, okay, so is he insinuating, is he trying to project his own life, where it's like maybe he isn't close to his family anymore, and so that's why he's like, oh man, you're so lucky that you have people that like that are there for you like that, because I don't, basically. um it's interesting. I mean, he definitely has friends, right? Like we've seen that. We've seen him have many friends, but like maybe he doesn't have any like friends that he's grown up with his whole life, or maybe he doesn't have family that he's close with. So again, there's lots of layers. Even this one conversation where we learn just a little bit about him, it like opens up so many other avenues for more information and him delving deeper into and like sharing more with Iwakura. So I really like that aspect of this episode. Um, and a little bit about Iwakura, we learn more, because right now all we've known is she wants to be in the government. Like again, we've seen her plan, right? But now we learn a bit more why, which I think is awesome. Where she's like, yeah, I mean, I could have stayed at my small town, but like, there's, because there's a lot of work that can be done there. But there's towns like that all over Japan. Like, I would rather, what she says? She says, I want to tackle the problem at its core. And so she's like, I want to get high up in the government so I can like make widespread change in the country rather than just making my town better. That's like, wow, that's like really thoughtful, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's a better word, but really thoughtful and like almost almost selfless in a way, because the more selfish option would be, oh, well, I'm just gonna make my own town better, which is still pretty cool because like you're caring more about just yourself, you're caring about your whole town that you grew up in, right? But she's like, no, I want to make the whole country better, as a very blanket statement. That's like, oh, okay, that's awesome. And then we get into a little bit about Fumi, where it's like, oh no, Fumi is ride or die. Like Fumi's always been there for Iwakura. She's always looking out for her, taking care of her. Like when the studying and the goals and the loftiness of everything was very close to consuming Iwakura, Fumi just like brought her out for dinner, and like it just like changed her whole life. Because she was there for her to like comfort her and be like, hey, this is real life. First, you want to touch some grass, and then you just realize that, hey, pass or fail, we're gonna go eat some food, And she's like, oh, there's nothing to celebrate if I fail. And it's like, nah, like this means so much to you. The fact that you gave it your all is enough to celebrate. And it just like changes you, because it's like at that moment she was so engrossed in her path and her goals, and it's like, hey, there's other stuff that's important. And you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. You know, the whole weight of the country is not on your shoulders. So yeah, so just to have a friend like that is awesome. And then they pinky promise to each other, basically to help each other. You know, it's more so on Shima's end. You know, where she has this great moment where she's like, "Hey, if you ever find a goal, I'm gonna be there for you. I want to help you, and then you know if you win or if you get it or don't, we're gonna go out and eat some food." And it's like, oh yes, you know. And so it's great, especially because you know Shima's there, like, "Hey, oh man, you're really lucky to have someone in your life like that." And Iwakura's like, "I can be the one in your life like that." And it's like, oh yes, you know. The more I watch the show, the more, and again, I don't know if the show's a romance tag, I don't remember, but like the more I'm like, you know, this show could end with them just being best friends. You know, like this show doesn't necessarily have to end with them being like, oh man, we're romantically together. You know, like no, it could just be, oh, we're best friends who just help each other, and we learn a lot about each other's life, and we're there, and you know all that stuff. So, yeah. And then we have a little bit at the end. I don't feel this is too important, but we have Iwakura and Takamine. They kind of understand each other at the beginning, at least, with like their like discipline, right? But then towards the end, it's like, nah, Iwakura is different, you know. Takamine is more like her whole life is surrounded by this like attitude and this approach to her life, whereas Takamine is like, you know, she's a little bit more carefree, you know, where she's like, we can get it, it's fine, we'll get the next bus in 15 minutes, because I mean also she came up in a different place, right? So like with her, I mean just that moment of like, oh man, and bus is coming every 15 minutes, this is great. Where Takamine is like, I have to wait a whole another 15 minutes. I'm losing a quarter of an hour where I could be, you know, I'm quarter an hour behind schedule, you know. But you know, Iwakura grew up in a very small town, so she's just like, man, a bus comes twice a day, you know. So it's like, yeah. And at the very end, you know, even Takamine is like, don't follow me, don't follow me. You know what I've done is not the path for everyone. You should do what works for you. You know, and then even Shima jumps in and he's like, you probably shouldn't follow the schedule then. It's you know, you have your own way of doing things, and it's following the schedule to save time. It's actually going to waste time. Which is funny because she's like, oh, that's super cold. It's true, but it's so cold. But yeah. So again, them kind of developing their relationship, I think, is where it's perfect. Is that where the title Skip and Loafer comes from? Or like skip, you know, like someone like skipping, you know, like that's kind of Iwakura, where she's, you know, I mean, skipping is faster than walking, I suppose, and so she's kind of like intentional, whereas Shima is like loafing, like he's just loafing around, you know. Is that where this comes? I don't know. Next, we got Heavenly Delusion, episode 5. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, last episode I was like, oh man, it's really weird that his name is Haru. It's Maru. It's different. I was like, man, there's no way it's Haru, because the brother's name is like Haruki or something. I'm like, man, like that's a really weird, like why would they name two characters so close together? You know? It'd be like, oh, there's one character named John and one character named Jonathan. It's like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just write one of the characters' names to be different? It's gonna be so confusing. I mean, unless the intent of it is to, like, unless they're supposed to have similar names for like plot reasons, then that's different. But it's just stupid. But no, it's Maru. It's different. It's completely different. So yeah, we have let's see, the very beginning we have Maru just destroying those clowns. Just like, what are they doing? Why are they so mean? What are you messing with me for? I'm just here playing the arcade, you know. But I do like this is, you know, again showcasing Maru's skill, where it's like he can really fight. Like I don't know where he learned to fight like that, but he's really good. And then we have a very emotional scene where Kiriko really panicked when she couldn't find Maru. like she like had like a panic attack, or she was going crazy. That just goes to show their relationship and how much it's built. Where in the beginning, I'm sure it was more just like, oh, I'm taking this job, I'm your bodyguard or whatever. But now it's like, oh no, I really care about you. Not just like, oh, if I lose you, if you die, I don't get paid. But no, it's like, oh no, if you like, they are kind of close to being siblings at this point. They kind of have that relationship. Um, yeah, like I like that. Then we have a quick. I think this is the only. Yeah, we have a quick cut to a little like domed place with all the kids, and we have another kid die to that disease. Don't know the cause of it yet. I think that's kind of part of the mystery. But then we have a flashback to one of the kids seeing, I believe, that kid hanged, like he hung himself, and it's just like, ooh, are they kind of like covering it up? Like, there's so much mystery. Again, I feel like there's two stories being told, and I don't know when they're going to diverge on each other, because like that whole thing with the whole with like the kill, what are they doing with the kids? Where's the disease coming from? What's happening there? What is really going on? What's really going on in this place? Because again, if that's true, the kid was hanged. It's just like, whoa, why did he kill himself? What's happening there? Why are they trying to hide it? Because we know it's not like, oh, well, we're trying to hide it because we don't want to emotionally scar the kids. It's like, yeah, but kids are already dying to this disease that you can't stop apparently. So it's like, no, you're not hiding the fact that they died. You're hiding the fact that they wanted to die. That's what you're covering up, because there's something about this place that is not right. Then we have basically where I believe probably the next episode is going to go, where with the Mortal Order, right? Mortal Order might be where heaven is. They might be the same name, or the same place with different names. That guy heard there's a doctor there who can keep you alive forever, so that immediately pings Kiriko's radar. He obviously doesn't know what the doctor is. He's like, I just heard. I don't know what the doctor looks like. I've never actually been to the Immortal Order before. But that immediately is like, all right, new path. I know where we're going. We got to go there, because if that doctor's still there, that'll answer all my questions. It's funny because I don't know. That is one of the mysteries, huh? This show, more than any other show, is definitely full of mysteries. Just like, what? I feel like this show's very good, and I'm very engrossed in everything that's happening. But I'm just like, a lot of answers that I want that I don't know the show's gonna give us. But yeah, it's just like, because I still don't know how true this is. Because like, from our perspective, it would be nice, it would be very interesting if it is really Haruki in Kiriko's body, that the doctor actually did that. That would be insane. But there's also a slight chance, and I feel like this is like the less fun option, so I feel like they're not going to go this way, because it's just be kind of boring. It's still interesting, but it's like, it's not as interesting as he put someone's mind in someone else's body, and also like, why, like was like Kiriko's mind dead or something, like it was like, oh, the best of both worlds, where it's like Haru's mind was active, or was healthy, but his body was too far gone, right? And then reverse for Kiriko, where it's like she went brain dead or something, but her body was fully intact. So he was just like, all right, take a piece of that, put them together. Now we got one human that gets to live instead of two humans that get to die. Or was it more so like, I don't know, there's lots of possibilities there. But the boring option would be, oh no, it is just trauma. It is just Kiriko is so traumatized by what happened that she's convinced herself. She has put a padlock on her brain, and she's convinced that she is Haruki. Again, I feel like that's interesting. I feel like if that is the way they go with it, there's a lot of really cool things they could do with that. Obviously the more interesting thing is like, oh, we put someone in someone else's body, and now they're alive, and now they're freaking out. So, yeah. And then the very end, we have two things that I think maybe connect to each other. We have the guy who pulled out this like vial thing, and apparently had like a man-eater part in it or something. That I imagine he was gonna bring back to the Mortal Order to like study, get the scientist on it to maybe, I don't know, help defeat them, or what they're caused from or something. I don't know. But it like disintegrated, so I guess that's not good anymore. But the reason I think that's important is because I think it might connect with the very, very, very end of the episode, where we cut back to the dome with the children, and the scientists, they like see like a part, and like it just looked like a weird like scaly rock thing. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh, maybe that was also like a man-eater part. It's like maybe there's some connection there that I can't see. There's so many mysteries. There's so many things. What is this show? What are the weird baby things? What is happening? Why was there a footprint on the wall? Why are the kids killing themselves? So many questions. Why are they freaked out about it? Like, what is it? We need answers. We need this. Next, we got Demon Slayer, Swordsmith Village Arc, Episode 3. A little disappointing, I'll be honest. A little disappointing. Not the episode was disappointing. The episode was great. But a little disappointing for Tanjiro to like get the sword. It's like it's all rusty. It's like, oh, we can't use this sword. And also, wouldn't it be cool if we pull it out? We could like it had the sheen. It was like, oh, it's so cool. But it being all rusty kind of ruined the moment of like, all right, it just kind of looks like a sword. And then we have Haganezuka. He's here. He's gonna polish the sword. He gave Tanjiro a temporary one. So it's like, all right, we good for now. I got a sword. We're good. Yeah. So apparently it takes like 3 days and 3 nights or something to polish it like that. So at some point we're gonna see that sword, and it's got to be crazy, because like that is the like fabled sword, the fabled weapon that I think like makes you better or something, like it has like weird powers or something. So at some point Tanjiro's gonna get that, and we're gonna go off. I made a note here that Nezuko is precious. just Nezuko and like her little like chibi form is just like protected at all costs. Like nothing bad can ever happen to her. Something bad happens to her, we all riot. We stop watching the show. Show's over. But those two things are really cool. Got sword, we got Nezuko. But really the meat of the episode, and probably what I would say probably a good chunk of the next maybe couple episodes or so is gonna be this fight, right? We got the upper rank is here. Upper rank, I don't know what number they are. 5 maybe. I don't know. No. I think the other demon was 5. I don't know what this one is, but there's a couple ranked demons here. One of them is not engaging in battle right now. He's somewhere else doing something. I don't know. But the other one, the one that was like super nervous and like jittery and stuff, he's here. And we thought, and at this point, it's like, okay, all the fights have to kind of stack on top of themselves, right? Where it's like every big fight has to play with our expectations, but it also has to acknowledge the information that we've already received from previous fights, right? So it's like this demon, right? Like Tokito, Hashira, right? He's got the skills, so he immediately cut off his head. It's like, okay, cool, fight's over. No, fight's not over, because we've already established that most demons die when you cut off their head, but especially upper ranks don't. That's what we've seen it last season, right? It's like, oh, the demon didn't die. He was cool. He was chilling. And so this one is like a hydra. You cut off the head grows a body grows a head, now you got 2. That's like, all right, well, it's worse. It's worse now. So I imagine, I wonder where you have to cut them then. Do they only grow if you cut off the head? So like if they were to cut off one of the demon's arms, would the arm grow a body, and the body would grow its arm back, or is it only when you separate the head? Because I was thinking, you cut him right below the rib cage. You just cut him in half. There you go. You got him. I'll be honest. I don't know that as a demon slayer, I wouldn't be afraid of two legs. You know, wouldn't be afraid of it. Also, wouldn't be afraid of an upper body. What are you gonna do? You gonna walk around in your hands? Not afraid of that. I got a sword. But yeah, so it's like a Hydra, you know. And then we got that like fan thing. One of them has a fan, which is super powerful. That was crazy. It was really cool how they did it too, because you know it wasn't just like whoosh, all right, blew back. It was wait until Tokido gets super close, and then we're gonna whoosh, and then for like 2 seconds nothing happens, right? It's just like, well, that was like it, it gives you enough time to think, to be like, well, that was dumb. Like, what kind of weapon is a fan? Like, that didn't even do anything. You missed, you know? And then boom, it just cuts to Tokido getting launched. Just launched through the wall, through the building, 50 meters away or something. You know, just getting launched. It's just, oh, that was cool. That's a crazy weapon too. Like, fighting against wind seems impossible. I don't know how you're gonna beat wind. And then Genya is here, so that's cool, right? He's got a gun. I don't think we've seen anyone have a gun yet, so that was okay. Bringing a gun to a sword fight, that doesn't seem fair. Gun doesn't really do anything though. I feel like shooting them in the head would be enough, you know, just kind of like take out their head. But then he cuts off their heads again. I'm just like, what are you doing? And then Tanjiro was like, you fool. You cut off their head, you grow more of them, you know? So now we got 4 people to deal with, and it's just, what are we doing? And it's funny because they are all their own like entity, where it's like the one that was carrying Tanjiro with their like eagle legs was like, oh man, it's great. I haven't been separated in so long. So it's like it's interesting how like it's like it's like those like Russian dolls that like you open it and there's another doll inside, then you open it, there's another doll inside. It's kind of like that, where it's like there's like, I don't know how many, but there's many like demons like trapped inside the one body, and they're unlocked when you cut off the head, and they can like regrow. It's an interesting concept. I mean, it is like almost like a Hydra, but in this sense, they're not all attached to one body, you know. Yeah, so they basically ends. They come with the conclusion that the like true body, their like true form, must be somewhere else. You know, like killing any of these are not going to do anything. We have to find the true body. So that'd be cool for them to find. And then we see Tokito about to go off. Like he's gearing up for something. He's about to go crazy. So I can't wait for that. But yeah, great episode. You know, again, I always, you know, the fight scenes, I feel like are always the like shining moments of the show. I'm not saying the story isn't good, right? It's good. I'm not saying just the little character moments are good, because they are. But like the fight scenes, you know, you got Ufotables, you know, their animation is crazy. So, you know, whenever we got a good fight scene, it's like, all right, we're here now. We're ready. 3 episodes in, we're ready. So yeah. Next we got Mobile Suit Gundam, which for Mercury season 2, episode 3. Yeah, we got some good stuff here. There's learn a lot more about the Earth stuff, and just more like politics, I would say. So we got Ghoul. Ghoul is there on Earth. He's being held prisoner. He's being force fed. You know, he's gonna be used like a bargaining chip. So it's good to see he's still alive. You know, I feel like we've kind of come around on Ghoul. You know, he's definitely one of those characters, right? He's, you know, kind of following that arc of like someone that we don't like, and someone that sort of gets redeemed a little bit, and now he's at like the lowest of the low, and he's gonna come back, and he's probably gonna be a fan favorite by the end of the season, I feel like. But just like his journey and like his transformation as a character. Then we have Nika. She's a prisoner to those Earthians. She's getting demolished, right? Because, you know, she's kind of in bed with them, which is very sad for us, because she was supposed to be the good one, and now she's kind of paying the price for it. But we see that, like, I don't really blame her though, because I feel like she didn't do that willingly. Like she wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna betray everyone. It was more so like she did it to like help herself and help her family and all that. She was kind of like forced into the role, so I'm not mad at her. But I can't wait until those guys. What is it? The Dawn of Fold. Oh no. They're called something else. There's too many names or too many groups. Okay. Benerit Company. Whatever. Too many names. All right. But yeah. Speaking of Dawn of Fold, well, a lot of the episode is devoted to them. They're able to they like battle their pursuers. Right. They're trying to get out of there, evacuate. But people coming out. I don't know who those people are. I'll be honest. But we see a lot of them battling and trying to make us, have some sort of connection to them. I don't really care. I'll be honest, I don't really care too much. It is what it is. And we're jumping back to Ghoul. Ghoul's not able to save that child, unfortunately. But again, it is like his intentions that I feel are really turning the character more and more to our side, more and more to something that we want and we want to root for, rather than the very beginning where like, this guy sucks. He's just like, he's really good at this. He thinks he's on top of the world. But then everything gets ripped from him, and then he starts to realize, right? It's a very classic character transformation, right? You gotta hit rock bottom to realize who you really are and what's really important to you. And then Ghoul, he's given freedom, and he declares that he is going to save his dad's company. So we'll see, We'll see exactly what happens when he comes back, I don't know that he exactly wants, he's exactly ready for what is waiting for him when he gets back, but we'll see. And then Miorine is told that Quiet Zero was her mother's idea. So again, just more little like politics stuff, history stuff, more information on like what she's inheriting. And like what she has to deal with, because like all this stuff is still happening. Yeah, like learn more about her dad and all that, and the relationship and how this all spawned. So, a lot of pieces. I'm kind of waiting for everything to kind of come together. Because we have Suletta and like how she's dealing with the Gundam stuff and Ariel and what she is, all that. Prospera with her all like Quiet Zero stuff. Miorine trying to deal with and like figure out what, because like her dad ain't doing well, so now she's kind of taking a bigger role and everything. Nika, or trying to, or just trying to do right. Ghoul coming back. So there's a lot of players in play. A lot of things happening. From what I've read about Gundam, I feel like that is traditionally the whole like Gundam formula, where there's a lot of stuff going on. So next, Insomniacs After School, episode 3. This was great. Again, more so developing Nakami's and Maguri's relationship, and introducing a nice character, Shiromaru, to the mix. So Shiromaru knows a lot about the camera stuff, right? They were a past member of the astronomy club. So they kind of go to them for advice, for help, all that stuff. We see more about him. He's like super self-sufficient. He manages the arcade, I think, right? But yeah, so he comes in, and he helps them take better pictures. And it's just a really nice moment, because this is something that Nakami and Maguri, it's not something that they necessarily love. They didn't come into this being like, I want to join the observatory, the astronomy club, It's more so something that they're doing out of necessity, because they're like, well, we need the observatory. We need access to the observatory. So we're going to join and basically reform the astronomy club. And that's how we'll do it. But I feel like as they're going further and further, they are actually growing to like the astronomy stuff, because even when Shiromaru kind of shows them how to take good pictures and they see the really good picture, they're like, whoa, that's crazy, like it looks so good, and the stars and the light, so that's nice. But even Shiromaru being a character, like, at the end of that, they're like, oh, can we come by with any questions or whatever? And Shiromaru's like, I might, I might want to come by the observatory sometime. And it's like, it's even better, because they were like hesitant because they're like, we don't want to like waste Shurimaru's time. Like, we're just some high school kids, like whatever. But then it turns out that not only are they not wasting are they not wasting his time, he wants to be more a part of it. He's like, I love this, because I mean, it was also just him at some point, right? Isn't that what he said? So now he has a couple other people. It's like, this is great. This is awesome. We have another character too that we can kind of follow and learn more about and, interact with Nakami and Magari. So that's cool. Then we jump through. A quick question I had: Why was Kurashiki in a tent? Yeah, she just kind of like crawled out of the tent in the observatory. It's just like, what? Why were you in the tent? If you're setting up the tent, that's cool. But like, you don't need to be in a tent to set it up. That's not how tents work generally. What were you doing in the tent? Just chilling in there. But then they have a couple really good plans, right? So they have a plan, kind of a like larger plan where they're going to hold a meteor shower party. They're going to invite everyone in the school, but then other people like in the town or whatever, and that's going to get more eyes on the club because right now they need to prove that this club should still exist, right? That that's valid. We don't want the club to get shut down. We want to earn some funding to get better equipment or whatever. Help maintain things. So, we need to. This isn't just like a front. Like they actually need to physically, do the club. You know what I mean? And so they're like, okay, cool. So we're gonna hold like there's a meteor shower happening soon. We're gonna hold like a like viewing party, right? Where everyone's gonna come by. We're gonna maybe have a telescope or whatever. And we're just gonna have people come out and watch the club, have a good time, hang out. That'll kind of get more eyes, more attention on this sort of thing. So there we go. And then also they have another idea where there is a photography contest. I think it's specifically surrounding like stars or like nighttime sky type deal. So it works perfectly for them. And it's like, okay, well, here's another idea. Partake in the photography contest, and if you win a prize and get some money, one, that's money that can go towards the club, right? But then also, the school will look at you as like, oh, okay, you're doing work, like because like that's how it works a lot with like sports clubs, where it's like, well, if you're losing, like if your soccer team is trash, school's probably not going to divert a lot of the funding to you. It'll probably divert it to the like swim team that's like racking up wins. We're gonna put our money towards the winning stuff that will attract students to our school, right? So that's kind of a thing too, where it's like, oh, you're here winning prizes. This club over here winning monetary prizes. Okay. So, yeah, and then with the very end again, more Shirimaru stuff, which I love. I already love the character so much. We see that they have a nice little routine with like doing the food and packing it up, and even bringing the cat, which I thought was funny. But even like setting it up and like cooking the food outside, like it was a nice little routine that they have. You can tell that they truly enjoy this. Like they love spending their time doing this. That they have a little routine that they do. Whenever they want to go out. So that's really nice. Again, it's kind of peeling back the curtain of more and more of like what his life is, right? And like what they enjoy doing and all that stuff. And then the relationship with Nakami and Magari, where it's like, oh, him like taking these nice pictures, like, oh, it's so nice, and then them like wanted to send them to Nakami and Magari, but them like not really sure, like. I think overall it's more so them not sure about like their relationship with Nagami and Magari. It's like, oh, are we friends? Like, should I send this? It's also like super late and they're in high school, like they should be sleeping. Like I don't want to bother them, There's like super high hesitancy, and then the cat, Rollo, comes over, just nudges the hand and has him send them, and it's the best possible scenario, right? Where Nakami and Magari read it and respond immediately. I'm like, oh, this is so good. How'd you do this? Like, oh, the frame, the composition. Are you outside right now taking pictures? That's crazy. It's just like, and then we cut to Shiramaru, and just like the joy on his face is like, oh, that's what we live for. And it's also funny because he's like, oh, they're such night owls, and it's like, dog, you have no idea. They don't sleep at night. Which I could see at some point them telling Shiramaru, especially if Shiramaru gets like super close to them. But yeah, again, this is a nice show, man. This is definitely, like I said, this was the one that I'm gonna mention every time. Was always my like sleeper pick for the season, where it's like I don't feel like too many eyes are on this show. Definitely not with all like the sequels and like some of the super heavy hitters. But so far the show was really, really solid. Yeah. And lastly, Oshi no Ko, episode 3, the non-sequel fan favorite of the season. We have, this one was more like Kana focused, like that little relationship there. So we have, Kana catching up with Aqua, and, Kana wants to convince Aqua to join her production that she's on, her little TV drama that she's doing. And he doesn't want to do it, right, because we know Aqua is not, Aqua doesn't really want to act, right? That's not his thing, even though he's really good at it. But he eventually comes around because he believes the producer of the show, when Kana reveals what his name is, he believes that he might be a person of interest, because he remembers seeing his name in Ai's phone, they're like phone book, like, contact list. So it's like, oh, they're a person of interest. At the very least, they might have more information on Ai, possibly more interest as to other people that I was close to, maybe even the dad. At most, he might be our father. So, lots of questions there. So he's like, oh, I gotta get it, right? And I love the scene there where he connects those dots and it cuts to his face, and he's like he looks like a villain. He looks like a villain in that moment, like the shading on his eyes and like the like crazed look in his eyes of like, oh, we might have it. Remember, he wants to kill this man. He really he's definitely gonna kill his father. So, and also with that whole scene, we see that he was very determined. Like, he had Ai's phone and he was trying to break into it, but it had a passcode, and so he spent 3 years inputting different numbers to get into it, because you could only input so many. It's similar to, I know that like iPhones do this. I'm sure other phones do this too. I don't know that my phone does it. I don't ever type in. I feel like nowadays people don't really have passcodes anymore. They just like have the little like the Face ID or the fingerprint. But I know that was like a meme at some point with iPhones, because if you get it wrong like 5 times in a row, it like blocks you out for like a minute or like 5 minutes or something. But I think the more like, so if you were wait the 5 minutes and you were get it wrong again, it would up it to like, okay, 10 minutes now, like, oh, 20 minutes now. And so like there's like memes about like, oh, if you keep doing it, like your phone is locked for 6 months. It's just like, okay, this is ridiculous. But yeah, so as a whole thing there, we can only do, I think it was like once every like 10 minutes or something you could type in a wrong answer. So he spent 3 years and he finally unlocked it. Like, that's determination if I've ever seen it. But yeah. And onto the show. The show is terrible. The show is awful. The writing, not good. The actors and actresses, for the most part, not good. Because the whole point of it is, it is just like advertising, basically, because they basically cast, pretty much everyone in the show. At least all the dudes were just like models, and they did other stuff. So like none of them are really actors. So it's just like bad, really bad acting. Kana though, incredible. Um, and it really sucks because you know, kind of she kind of talks about this and she's like, yeah, when the when the mangaka, which is the manga author of the source material, when the mangaka kind of came in, very disappointed, when she saw the show. She was like, nah, not good, not good. You have ruined this. Which is funny. I feel like that is probably a big worry for a lot of, you know, because like, could you imagine putting so much hard work into this story that people really enjoy, and then it gets adapted, and you're like, oh, this is incredible. It's going to be adapted. More people are going to watch it because there's tons of people who only watch anime and don't read manga, right? Um, but it sucks. Oh no. Okay. Well, this is anime, but obviously this is a live action TV drama. But still, like, your story gets adapted anyway, right? Live action, anime, whatever, video game, and it's bad. You're just like, I signed off on this. This is what we're doing. No, no, no. It's just like, well, whatever, I guess. And then even Kana, we have this moment where she's talking to Aqua, and there's that Kana learned how to cooperate. When she was younger, she was really, really good, but that kind of made her stand out. And it also kind of came off as her like showing off. And it's like, well, you have to work with other actors and actresses. Like, you can't just, like, if you stand out too much, it's going to make us all look terrible, and then the production itself is going to be bad. So you kind of have, and so that's how she kind of learned to do that, where she is very accommodating of everyone else. She, that's kind of her reputation now, where she makes everyone else look good. She kind of plays to everyone's strengths, and especially with a show like this, that's why, even, when they were watching, like, Aqua, Ruby, and the mom, the fake mom, were watching it. They're watching Kana, and they're like, well, wasn't Kana like a better actor than this? why is she so bad? But you realize that, oh, she's like dumbing down her acting to match everyone else, and it's like, that's great. It doesn't make her look good on camera, but on behind the scenes, I guess it's really nice because, like, oh, she's known for this. The terrible thing though is the very end of the episode where Aqua hears the producers and them talk about the production, and they touch on Kana, and they kind of talk about how Kana is, they got her for a steal. Where it's like, oh, it's like her rates are dirt cheap, and she's a really good actress, but like she kind of makes everyone else look good, and it's well, it's like, it's just not good. Like the way they talk about her as like a tool and not like a human. It's like, it's not good, because even like admitting that the show's bad, and like it's literally just here for publicity for the different actors, for all the different male leads in the show. Just like, it's just not a good way to talk about your product, and then talk about Kana like that, of like, oh, she's doing work for us, we didn't even have to do anything, she just comes in and makes our jobs easier, and we don't even have to pay her that much. Just like, oh, come on. And then to kind of juxtapose what Kana was just mentioning earlier, of like, she felt like she was getting noticed for her skills and her abilities and her like acting prowess, and then for Aqua to overhear the producers talking, and they're not at all complimenting her on that. They're more so just complimenting her on like kind of being a pushover, and like, oh, she's good at acting. No, she's good at just like being here, and just like morphing into what we need her to be, even if it is you need to be a bad actor. Like, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And so I really hope next episode somehow, like, I don't know if Aqua's gonna tell her. Now, I will say, like, I've read the manga. I'm not caught up in it, but I am definitely way past where the show's gonna go. I mean, again, the show's only 12, 13 episodes. I'm definitely past that. But I don't really remember. I don't remember how this goes. I don't remember if Aqua tells her, or if, like, maybe he just goes off and is, because like he is acting in this episode, right? Like, this is the finale of the show. It's his time, so I wonder. I wonder what happens here. Yeah, I don't quite remember. But yeah, good episode. Again, more so focused on Aqua and Kana. Didn't really see too much Ruby. You know, that was more so a lot of a little bit more last episode, but you know, I mean, you know, it is Ruby and Aqua kind of taking their two paths as to what they want to do in life. So, very cool, very cool. And that is it. That is it for this week. Not another Isekai. Yeah, great episodes all around. We are in that kind of weird section of shows though, where it is like 3, 4, 5, where it's like we're kind of past the initial setup of the show, but we're still, for many of these shows, in the transition of like what the rest of the show is gonna be, you know. So yeah, that's it. Good stuff. Let me know what shows were your top picks for this week, because I mean, I think all these shows are still killing it. So, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Until next time, watch more anime.